It wasn't just a crack or carelessly shut door. No, it was deliberate. The thick steel vault stood ajar, its contents shamelessly displayed, wads of cash, rare watches, and a glimmering necklace that looked like it belonged in a royal museum. Maria froze, her hand still clutched the half-filled basket of laundry. She glanced at the door to the study. Silence. The house, like always, was wrapped in a sterile hush that made her heartbeat feel louder than it should. But something about today was different. For the past 6 months, Maria had worked as a maid in the mansion of Damien Crassaw, tech billionaire who'd made his fortune designing security software used by governments and banks alike. Cold, brilliant, reclusive Damien was the sort of man who saw people the way others saw numbers, useful or irrelevant. And while Maria had rarely exchanged more than a few words with him, she had always felt watched. That morning, she'd arrived early. Damien was already gone, according to his driver, but the safe always closed, always locked, was left wide open, as if it was a trap. Maria stepped back. She was no fool. She'd grown up in the rougher parts of Chicago, where people didn't leave doors unlocked unless they were begging for trouble. She hadn't survived her neighborhood, 2 underpaid jobs, and her father's hospital bills to throw her future away now. Still, she couldn't help but stare. It was so much money. Her fingers itched, not from temptation, but from the heat of humiliation. Did he think she'd steal from him? Was this some sort of twisted test? She felt insulted, but more than that, she felt sad. Sad that someone with all that money still needed to set traps to trust someone. Maria closed the safe, carefully, slowly, making sure not a single thing was disturbed. Then she left a yellow post-it on it. "Sir, your safe was open. I closed it," and she signed her name with a shaky hand. Damien saw the note the moment he walked in later that night. And for the first time in a long while, he smiled. Damien Cross hadn't spoken to anyone outside of work in almost 2 years. Ever since his brother had embezzled millions and disappeared, Damien's trust in people had shattered. So he built walls, security systems, cameras, background checks. Even his staff had to undergo monthly lie detector tests. But none of it filled the growing hollowness inside him. The world saw him as brilliant. But brilliance, he'd learned, was a lonely burden to bear. When Maria had joined as a maid, he'd noticed her immediately, not because of her appearance or work ethic, but because of how she spoke to the other staff, with kindness, with warmth. The others feared him. She didn't, not out of arrogance, but because she had no time to entertain fear. She was too busy caring for her disabled father, for her little brother, for the old gardener with trembling hands she always offered tea to without being asked. So Damien had left the safe open. Not to trap her, but to test something he didn't even understand fully, maybe. To see if anyone in this world could be good without being watched. And she was. The next morning, Maria arrived to find a letter on the kitchen counter with her name typed on it. Greater than Maria, thank you for your honesty. That note meant more to me than I can express. I apologize for what was, in effect, a test. But I needed to know. Please take the rest of the week off with full pay. Use the time for your family. And when you return, we need to talk. Damien Cross. Maria stared at the letter, stunned. The cold, distant man she thought she knew had written something, almost human. She didn't understand why, but she suddenly wanted to cry. When Maria returned the following Monday, things had changed. Damien was home, waiting, and for the first time, he invited her to sit. Not as a maid, but as a guest. They talked about nothing at first: weather, groceries, her favorite soup recipe. Then slowly, about real things: his mother's death, her father's stroke, his brother's betrayal, her son's stutter. She found herself laughing. He found himself listening. And somehow, in that massive mansion echoing with silence, a strange warmth filled the space between them. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was something more: understanding. But just as the ice began to thaw, something happened that neither of them expected. That evening, as Damien reviewed his server logs, he noticed something disturbing. Someone had accessed his private surveillance system. Not Maria, but someone from inside his trusted circle. The breach was subtle, sophisticated, and whoever it was, had copied footage from the day the safe was open. Maria's face, her movements, the safe, the note, all of it, recorded and sent. But to whom? Damien's world, once again, began to spiral. Someone was trying to frame her, or worse, blackmail him. And suddenly, everything about his carefully walled life felt exposed. Vulnerable. But Damien was no longer the cold, calculating man who trusted no one. This time, he had someone to protect. Damien didn't know how to say it gently, so he said it plainly. Maria sat frozen in the velvet armchair of the study. her hands gripping the fabric tightly. Damien had just shown her something. No employee was ever meant to see his private server logs and a still image from the day. The safe was open. There she was, caught mid-step, her gaze on the open vault. The image could be taken any number of ways. To someone looking to stir trouble, it was all the proof they needed to destroy her reputation. Asterisk Maria swallowed hard. You think? Someone's trying to frame me. Asterisk Damien nodded. I didn't, at first, but someone accessed these files from inside. Only 3 people have that level of clearance. You're not one of them. Asterisk Maria's face turned pale. But why would anyone do that? Asterisk Damien leaned back, eyes heavy with guilt. Because I let them believe I wouldn't care. Asterisk the investigation led to someone Damien never expected: Alfred, his head of internal security. A man who had worked with him for over 15 years. A man he'd trusted when his own brother had vanished with millions. Asterisk Alfred confessed under pressure. Quietly, coldly. Asterisk, it was time you saw people for what they are, he said, as if it were a favor. I leaked the footage anonymously. Thought she'd walk away in shame, but she stayed, which made her dangerous. Asterisk Damien could hardly believe it. Dangerous. She's the only decent person I've met in years. Asterisk Alfred didn't flinch. And that decency made you soft. Asterisk, when Damien told Maria what had happened, she stood quietly. Eyes fixed on the fireplace. Asterisk, you hired someone to protect you, she whispered, and he ended up trying to destroy me. For being honest, asterisk, I'm sorry, Damien said, voice trembling. I should have protected you. Asterisk, she looked up. You shouldn't have had to. I never should have been in that position. Damien nodded, shame swallowing his words. She handed him her uniform. I won't work in a place where being good gets you punished. Asterisk, and she walked out. No tears, no drama, just silence. Asterisk, for the first time in years, Damien felt the weight of true loneliness. Asterisk, the mansion had never been emptier. Her laughter no longer echoed in the halls. Her music no longer played quietly in the laundry room. Her absence was deafening. Asterisk days turned into weeks. Work resumed. New staff was hired. But Damien couldn't bring himself to speak to them. Not really. Asterisk, he still had his billions, his fortress, his fireproof safes. Asterisk, but he'd never felt more exposed. Asterisk, one afternoon, a letter arrived, handwritten, no return address. Asterisk, greater than Damien. You once told me that your brother stole your trust in people. But maybe the real theft happened the day you stopped believing people could surprise you in good ways. Asterisk, I'm not mad. I'm just sad. Asterisk, because I think there's more to you than the man who leaves safes open to see. If anyone will hurt him. Asterisk, I think there's a man inside. You, who's just waiting for someone to prove him wrong. Asterisk, take care of yourself. Not your money. Not your systems. Asterisk, just you. Maria. Damien read it twice. Then again. Then he cried. For the first time in over a decade. Asterisk, 6 weeks later. Damien showed up unannounced at a small community center in the south side of the city. Asterisk, Maria was there. Volunteering at the food pantry. Asterisk, he stood awkwardly at the door, watching her organize donated winter coats. She looked thinner, tired, but radiant in a way he hadn't remembered. She noticed him, froze, and gave a small smile. You're a long way from your tower, Mr. Cross. Asterisk, he cleared his throat. I didn't come to pull you back into my world. I came to be a part of yours. Asterisk, she raised an eyebrow. Why? Asterisk, he took a deep breath. Because you were the only person who treated me like a human being when I had forgotten how to be one. You didn't take from you gave, and I've never said thank you. Asterisk, she folded her arms. You didn't need to. Asterisk, I did, he said. And not just thank you. I want to support this center. I want to help you build something safe. For others, not with cameras or locks, but with trust, with people. Asterisk, Maria didn't answer that day. Not immediately, but she let him help her sort canned food. The next week, he donated winter gear. Quietly, anonymously. Asterisk, the week after that, he brought in an architect to help redesign the aging center. Asterisk, not once did he ask her to come back to the mansion. Asterisk, he just showed up, every day, in simple clothes, doing simple work. Asterisk, and one day, months later, as they locked up the pantry, Maria looked over at him. Asterisk, would you like to come for dinner? Asterisk, Damien smiled. Only if I don't have to pass a test first. Asterisk, she laughed. And it was real. Asterisk, later that night, as they sipped tea in her tiny apartment, Maria pulled something from a drawer. It was the diamond necklace from Damien's safe. He stiffened. I thought you didn't take anything. Asterisk, I didn't, she said, smiling. You left it on the kitchen counter, 2 weeks after I quit. No note, just sitting.